Welcome creators, sit yourselves down by the crackling hearthfire. I'm Holistic Dungeon Master, and I help DMs master their craft with helpful videos like this one, where I teach you how to master the art of story beats and how to use them to keep your players engaged from the very first moment of your session to the very last. If you're enjoying my content so far, then please like the video, crit the subscribe and notification bell, and get ready to level up your DM game like never before. Let's get rolling. Did you see that one? Did you? Maybe not. There is I do roll a d20 every time. There are a ton of ways to increase player engagement, right? From puzzles to interesting combats and everything in between. But there is one way to guarantee player engagement over the course of your session. Dynamic story beats. There is a great book called Hamlet's Hit Points, written by Robin Laws. And in that book, the author declares that stories engage our attention by constantly modulating our emotional responses. And we can do that during our sessions and in our overarching campaign narratives, right? By using story beats and dynamically arranging them to modulate your players' and your party's emotions. This is what's going to keep them engaged throughout your session and throughout your campaign. Everything else is very useful, of course, but secondary to this elusive skill that we are going to have a very good grasp on, or try to, by the end of this video. So buckle up, grab a coffee, relax, because there is a bunch of them. I won't spend too long on each, just enough so that you get the gist and the idea. Procedural beats, right? So these are story beats that bring the party closer to or further away from their goal, right? Procedurally, okay? Now, it's important that in each of these beats that occur, and don't worry, I'll give you examples for each of these, there are stakes at play, right? They should be suspenseful. So I guess for an example, right? So say something important was taken from an NPC, a family heirloom or kind of a grisly trophy, something that they kind of obsessively have this item and they loathe to be part with it, right? Stolen by some sort of thief, and they have to confront a known acquaintance of this thief, put the squeeze on them to pick up their trail, right? Find out their location, their hideout, whatever. If they manage to squeeze that info out of them, then they're one step closer to getting the item back, one step closer to their goal. But if they fail, however, maybe they don't roll high in their intimidation or he gets away, something like that, then they're one step further away, right? They may never retrieve this item. The thief may get away forever or until some later date. The whole point is that there is this procedure. Something happens, to move them closer or further away from their goal. The dramatic story beat, right? So this one, it's kind of similar to the procedural one, but it doesn't get your characters closer or further away from their goal. It gets them closer or further away from their desired character development, right? This one's a little bit, maybe not complicated, but it's a little abstract, right? So in a dramatic story beat, there is always an emotional petitioner and an emotional grantor, right? Of course, the petitioner wants something and the other participant can or may not grant it, right? So just a couple of examples to really kind of, tie this down to Dungeons and Dragons, right? So say that one of the party gets the opportunity to get someone who has betrayed them to maybe either admit what they did wrong or even apologize for what they did wrong, right? So in this case, the PC would be the petitioner and that this other NPC who betrayed the betrayer would be the grantor, right? And if the grantor gives the petitioner what they want in the form of sure, yeah, you're right, what I did was wrong, sorry, then this is positive character development, right? But if they don't, or if they humiliate them even in the course of this thing, or maybe they make it completely clear to them that what they did, they don't see it as wrong, they don't even see it, it hasn't even occurred to them, they haven't even thought about it since that day, right? This could further drive the PC from their desired character arc. Maybe they want this closure, they need to get it. Either way, right? Either way, it's dramatic. There's character development happening. There's like this conflict, this tension. But yes, the most important thing is that there is an emotional petitioner and there is an emotional grantor, and kind of how they interplay determines whether or not the character gets towards their character development goal. Commentary story beats. Now, these kind of have no impact on your character's goals. They almost don't even happen in what the player characters are experiencing, right? It's kind of more used to underline themes of the story, and they should be used extremely sparingly, and you kind of see why once I give these examples. But basically, this kind of stops the action and pulls the players kind of out of their characters and out of the game, because examples of these kind of commentary beats would be like a cutscene. Maybe it's a scene that occurs where the party aren't, right? And I know some DMs are totally for these, some DMs are totally against. I think they're awesome, but only at very specific points in your campaign, not even your session, right? If you do these multiple times a session, it's bad, I feel like, because it just breaks that immersion. It pulls the players away, they're away from their characters, away from the game, and they're basically just listening to you narrate something. But they can be very effective. Where I think they're the most effective is at the very beginning, at the very middle, and near the end, or almost maybe as a conclusion to your campaign as a whole. That sparingly. I wouldn't use much more than those three: at the very beginning, the very start, and the very end. And again, yeah, like I said, be extremely sparing and do not draw these things out, and use them to underline the themes of your story, whether it be horror, mystery, or cutscenes. If you include them, should be very heavily focused on those themes to set the stage for the game your players are going to play. Anticipation beats, right? These can be very fun, and you know what these are. You've seen these in pop culture, movies, and books. They'll become clear once I mention the examples, but these are beats that are used to create excitement about future success, right? It's not happening right now, it's the hype train. Your party, their characters, maybe NPCs around them, are getting on the hype train. They're going to go beat the bad guy. Something awesome is going to happen. It's a hype. Maybe it doesn't happen. Maybe it ends in tragedy, but the whole point is they're hyped now about what they're about to do. This could be great before the big bad evil guy boss fight, right? Or maybe just even before they go delve into enemy territory, right? But before some big event that they hope to be successful for. So you can get creative with this one, right? But here are some examples though. It could be the party receiving a powerful magic item that's specifically designed to exploit enemy weaknesses or overcome their strengths, right? It's hyping them up. They've got that thing. Yes, this is the thing we need to beat that bad guy. We have it now. Or perhaps, and this is one I'm sure you're all familiar with, when maybe they've recruited allies and, they're all strapping on their armor, they're sharpening weapons, they're all talking about, maybe they're setting or laying traps, maybe the enemy's coming to them, right? These are moments where the characters feel as though success is impending. And it should feel good, it should feel gratifying, it should feel hype. Gratification beats. Now, these can be fun, but similar to the commentary beats, these should be used very sparingly, because it's a sort of gratifying moment for everyone playing, including the DM. It could be that doesn't serve the main narrative. It doesn't really serve a narrative purpose, right? And because of this, they should be used sparingly, because again, they can break immersion and pull players out of the game. So, just for an example, because that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, at least I don't think so when you just say what it is, but it could be an NPC unknowingly mimicking an in-joke between the real people playing at the table, right? This is just a moment of, yeah, I remember that, I know this, we're all in on this joke, and it's happening in-game, right? Or you could have maybe play some pop culture track that suits the current state of the narrative, right? You could play, maybe even for that kind of combining two beats here, maybe for that anticipation where they're all getting ready, maybe you're playing Eye of the Tiger from through your speakers or something like that. It doesn't serve the narrative, it's a little bit meta, but it is gratifying for everyone at the table. But again, be careful, it does break immersion a small bit. It is a bunch of fun, but if you're worried about it pulling from the narrative too much, then yes, use these gratifying beats sparingly. The bring down. I mean, it kind of does what it says in the tin. It brings everyone down, but it serves a purpose. It's kind of the opposite of a gratification beat, where again, it's kind of divorced. It's kind of uncoupled from the actual narrative. It still kind of floats free above it, but it can serve to comment on the state of it. Think pathetic fallacy, right? A very good example. And while I was writing the script, I just couldn't really think of any more. Maybe you can, please put them down in the comments. But the classic thunder and lightning and rain when something bad or creepy is about to happen. Just for an example, you know, they're heading to Strahd's mansion. There's thunder, there's lightning. It highlights the theme, it comments on it, right? But again, it's not quite in the narrative. Hype story beats. Now, these are very useful. These are probably, I think, this beat and the next one are the most useful. Oh, and the one after. Yeah, there's these three that I'm about to mention now that I find get the most, you get the most bang for your buck with these ones, right? But the pipe beat it provides your party with information that they'll need later on. But in a way, this is crucial, in a way that they don't realize that the information is important when they get it, okay? It's meant to be, you're not meant to telegraph how important this info is too soon. It's meant to be later on when your party get that aha moment, you know, when they remember that piece of info and yes, this is why it's important, we can use this, or it's being used against us, right? Just for an example, the party learns some important lore about an NPC and maybe they don't know that NPC is the bad guy, but when they find out, that information might become crucial to beating them. But they didn't know they needed it to beat that NPC until they figured out it was a bad guy, if you kind of understand. So yes, super important that you do not show them how important this piece of pipe is. Just an aside, in the book, the author Robin Laws explains where that term came from, because this wasn't made for D&D. These story beats, these are just storytelling techniques, right? These are storytelling techniques, and it's called pipe because it's like the pipes in the house. You need them for your house to work, but you can't see them. Now we'll get on to the next one, which I teased was very important. The question beat. It's straightforward, it's simple, it's a beat that creates curiosity or mystery that the party, they'll want to figure it out, right? It teases something that's already happened, and your party will be like, ooh, what happened there? We need to know, we need to figure it out, we need to find out. It's meant to kind of tease and pull them along a thread, essentially. Just a couple of examples, and any of you who like mysteries or anything like that, very familiar with these. The party finds a body with mysterious injuries that don't make any sense at all. Or the classic anonymous letter, right? Shows up in their inn or, you know, just tucked into their pocket, they didn't realize it till later, demanding a secluded meetup. Or the party has been hired to solve this case of an item that's gone missing out of an unbreakable vault, right? These are all things that telegraph something that did happen, but there's a mystery about why they're happening. And now that's going to pull your party. They'll want to solve that mystery, right? No one likes a question that is unanswered. And that is why the next beat is crucial once you use the question beat. The reveal, right? The big reveal. This beat reveals any information laid by both pipe beats and teased in question beats, like that example I was giving before in the pipe beat, where, you know, they get information about an NPC, but then it is revealed that they're the bad guy, and now that information is important and useful. That is why the reveal is so powerful. You've laid this pipe, you've teased these questions, and now it's gratifyingly revealed. And this is why it's important. It can be gratifying, and it can also be a source of impending fear if it hints at future danger. And fear and hope are two very important emotions when you're using these story beats. We'll discuss those later, but just for a few examples for this reveal, like those questions before, the monster that caused those mysterious injuries reveals itself, and now those injuries, they make sense because of maybe the physiology of the creature or whatever. Maybe they've got magic, strange or special powers that is apparent when they reveal themselves, and now, yes, now the injuries make sense. Or the anonymous letter sender ends up being an ally of the party and meets up with them to warn them of impending danger, sprinkling in that little bit of fear into the party. Or maybe someone's put a hit out on them. Or that item was never even in the vault in the first place and it was actually stolen just at the moment before the vault was closed. Something like that, right? It was never even placed inside. This reveal, it just closes and gives this satisfying end to the kind of questions and mysteries you've teased previously. So right now you're probably thinking, okay, there's a bunch of these beats, they all do kind of specific things, but how do I use them? How do I use them how do we unlock their true potential to create these limitlessly engaging sessions? Well, through something I was teasing before with these question beats I've been giving you through this video. And here's the reveal. It's through the hope-fear cycle. All of these beats can induce feelings of either hope or fear. And that's how you should be thinking of these beats as you drop them down throughout your session, right? If it's hope, we can consider it an upbeat, right? It's uplifting, it's good news. If it's fear, the opposite is true. It's a downbeat. It sucks. Some bad stuff may or is going to happen. The secret to creating a limitlessly engaging session is alternating these two beats in an unpredictable fashion, an unpredictable manner. However, there is a kind of trend you should follow to keep that engagement high. Too many upbeats, all right, the party, they speak to the guard, they get the information they want really easily, they roll super high, they sneak past some other bad guys without, getting into a fight, they find some loot, and then they find a super good piece of information that bodes well for them in the future. This upward trend, always upward for your whole session. What's gonna happen? That's boring, right? Your party are gonna become bored with their success. Kind of seems counterintuitive, but it's true. You think about it yourself if you were playing a game like that. It would suck if you won all the time. There'd be no stakes. There'd be no drama. There'd be no conflict, right? So, and kind of conversely, of course, too many downbeats. The party gets smashed in a really difficult combat, and then someone, they lose a bunch of gold, and an NPC has been kidnapped, and, all of this stuff. If there's this constant downward trend, that might be very dramatic, sure, but without any relief from that, they're gonna feel like the game is hopeless. They're gonna feel it's unfair. They're gonna feel like, oh, what's the point of even playing? Nothing good ever happens to us. So, it doesn't matter how many awesome combat encounters, cool NPCs, or mind-bending puzzles you include in your game, if the party is successful all the time, or if they're failing all the time. They're going to get bored, they're going to get fed up. That's why everything else that goes into a game is secondary to this art of compelling, kind of having this compelling modulation of story beats and thus modulating your party's emotions. That's what's going to keep them engaged, right? A decent and hectic mix of both, or an upbeat placed, a very high upbeat placed on a long string of downbeats, right? They're beginning to feel hopeless, and then, oh no, something very good happens. That's what's going to pique their interest. They're going to get just about used to a certain curve, and then you hit them with the opposite. That's engaging, hugely engaging, and it can really kind of pack a punch narratively, and that's what you want, of course, for your players. Don't you want to be nice to them, your players? You sure do. Now that we understand, don't we? Of course you do. Of course you all do. You've all been listening intently, haven't you? Now that we understand the beats, how beats and the hope and fear cycle work together, let's talk about exactly how to apply them to our game and vastly improve the engagement and excitement of our players. As your session runs, and this is going to take practice, right? This is difficult, and it's not, it is more kind of an art than a science. Thinking about all of these different, God, have I laid enough pipe? Was it good or bad? Or which character did it relate to? Am I relating to these beats to one character too much? All of this is complicated, it's complex, and it's tough to master. But we can all start with something very, very, very simple, and that is to sketch out a narrative curve as your session is running, right? Of course, the curve goes up. Literally just on a piece of paper, the curve goes up when a beat resolves with hope, and down when it resolves in fear. Now, and at the end of your session, maybe don't even plan out your beats yet, just do this on a normal session and see what your curve ends up looking like. And looking at this curve, you'll have a pretty decent idea of how engaging this session was, or wasn't. Your curve should have a kind of a sporadic mix of upbeats and downbeats, right? A sporadic mix of them, but it should always kind of start at a level, a sporadic mix of up and down beats, but it should end lower than you started with, right? There should be more downbeats than there are upbeats, or more significant downbeats than the upbeats, right? because it is more dramatic. Now, we don't want too many downbeats. We do want to relieve that failure, that misery, right? With spikes of hope every now and again. But we do want to end up lower than where we started. It's more dramatic that way. And then at the end, they've felt this, oh yes, good things are happening, but overall things aren't so great. And then at the very end of your session, there's this huge uptick, this resolution. They beat something, they get something really good, they learn something really useful just at the end that they feel set up for that they're going to be in a good position to succeed in the next session. How powerful is that? Start okay, things are tough, but good stuff is happening, but we're ending up in a worse place, and then boom, you hit them with something very, very awesome for them at the end of the session. That is engaging. That sounds great. That sounds fun, doesn't it? Once you get good at this, once you kind of have a good feel to all this, just the hope-fear curve, right? Then you can start thinking about what kind of beats you are dropping in throughout the game. Was there a question? Did I reveal it? Was the pipe I teased earlier, is it important at the end of this session? If not, it should be at the end of the next session or soon. You can start thinking about all of these beats and then just experiment, drop them in. Over time, you will just get better of this and it will become second nature. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest, I'm nowhere near good enough to consider myself a master of this particular art. It's tough, I'm a novice myself, but since thinking about it and trying my best to imply it, you do get better, and your games do get better, and just more engaging overall for your party. But always, always, always analyze what you've done and seek to improve. That's all you can ask, right? Of yourself as a DM. Failing is a good thing, of course. Otherwise, we wouldn't grow as DMs. And that's why you're watching my videos, right? To get better at the game as a DM. And that's why I'm reading your comments, so I can learn from you guys. So get typing down there. I hope that by now you have a firm enough grasp on how story beats work, right? So that you feel ready now to apply them to your game. Get going, do it. If you do, I promise you that your players will be just immensely more engaged in your game. And you'll have yet another tool, another shining, bright, new shiny tool to add to your DM toolkit. Speaking of a powerful tool, I've got another one for you. I've written a bunch of system-neutral, story-focused, archetypal NPCs with no stats or mechanics or anything like that, just stories, goals, desires, things like that, so you can get started improving the narrative of your games. I'm giving it away for free, and you'll find it down in the description below. Also down in the description below is the link to our community Discord server, where we can hang out, kind of discuss the game, talk shop, meet other DMs and other players who just love D&D, and also I'll be posting my upcoming games, so any of you wishing to play can hire me for that if you wish. Now, you've heard a lot from me, I want to hear from you. In fact, we all do. Please get typing in the comments down below. Which of these story beats are you most excited to try? Have you tried some already, like of these techniques? Were your players more engaged? Let us know down there so we can foster this community of DMs who help each other hone their craft. If you've watched the video up until now, then you, yes you, are the DM that I'm making these videos for, right? Someone who is dedicated to honing their craft and being the best DM that they can be. So thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Please like the video, share it with another DM who you think could benefit from these story beats and making their game more engaging. Crit the subscribe button and notification bell. And remember, this world needs good DMs.